former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn may be cooperating with special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to influence the 2016 election. It's a development the White House has been expecting for weeks, according to the president's lawyer, Jay Sekulow. He insists this is not bad news for the president. Errol Barnett joins us now from West Palm Beach, Florida. Errol, Flynn's legal team has stopped sharing information on Robert Mueller's probe with the president's lawyers. What's the significance of this?
Hey there, Rena. Great to see you. The significance here is that it really suggests that General Michael Flynn is now cooperating with special counsel Mueller's investigation. Remember, just last month, we saw the first charges in this case going against Rick Gates, Paul Manafort, and George Papadopoulos. The fact that we're not hearing charges against General Flynn and that he's stopping this contact between lawyers represents that he is now helping to give special counsel Mueller what he wants. And what he wants from General Flynn is testimony, considering his proximity to President Trump and all of those key people during the campaign and even during the presidency. That at this stage is seen as invaluable.
You mentioned testimony is what they want, but is there any other sense of what other insights he might be providing to the special counsel?
Well, what he could do at this stage is basically connect the existing dots and perhaps provide new information. Paul Manafort and Rick Gates were charged for financial crimes that predated the campaign. That's typically seen as a strategy, an easily provable case, because it has a paper trail to get them to discuss what happened during the campaign. George Papadopoulos was a campaign aide who admitted to lying to the FBI. He pleaded guilty, lying to the FBI about his own Russian contacts. So Mueller will want to know from General Flynn, why was there so much secrecy between so many campaign aides? And it's not just George Papadopoulos. You have Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and General Flynn himself, who was dismissed as National Security Advisor because he misled Vice President Pence about his Russian contacts. Robert Mueller's going to know why that was, and also how much did President Trump know about all of this and when did he know it. Also on the obstruction of justice charge, remember President Trump dismissed FBI Director James Comey because of the Russia investigation. He was looking into General Flynn at that time. How much did General Flynn know about conversations he may have had with the president about that? So this really is seen as a crucial development and a very key witness.
Errol, if you're looking at the calendar, there's just a little more than a month left for tax reform to get through, but Republicans may not have the numbers we're hearing. What's President Trump's strategy as he heads into those meetings with GOP leaders this week?
That's right. He'll have a luncheon with the GOP on Capitol Hill, and he'll also meet with congressional leaders, both Democrat and Republican, at the White House next week. He's going to do what he's done before. He's going to go on a charm offensive. He's going to encourage Republicans to get this tax policy through, because it would be essentially a win for them. But certainly he's self-interested here. He's going to finish his first year as president without any major legislative achievements unless they can get this tax reform policy through. Now remember, the last few times he tried this with the repeal of Obamacare, those Republicans were reluctant to support it because they felt that it wasn't actually a win for their constituents. This tax policy is seen as a permanent tax cut for corporations and only temporary tax cuts for the middle class. So it is an uphill battle and a fight that he's going to have to try and turn some Republicans around very quickly, because there's just a blink of an eye if you look at the legislative calendar as far as time left this year.
It's interesting to see exactly how this will go down. I want to ask you, a lot of buzz online about these personnel changes at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Director Richard Cordray was announced that he's leaving. He announced he's leaving Friday, a week sooner than anticipated, and he named his own successor. But the White House also named Mick Mulvaney to the same post. So what happens here?
It's a real jockeying for this consumer watchdog agency, which is primarily responsible for looking out for the consumer. It was created as part of the Dodd-Frank Act in 2010 after the financial crisis. It's a piece of the Obama legacy, and President Trump wants someone he has appointed to lead it. Now, what's interesting is that Mick Mulvaney will maintain his current job as head of the Office of Management and Budget there at the White House, and he will just be, according to President Trump, its acting director until the Senate can appoint a permanent replacement. But it does create a kind of challenge, because what the current director did on Friday was surprisingly announce that he's stepping down early. He appointed his chief of staff as the acting director, and it's unclear which entity can make that decision. The White House says because of the Federal Vacancies Act, it can appoint whoever can lead the agency. But even Senator Elizabeth Warren today, who helped create this entity, tweeted directly at the president and saying you cannot override Dodd-Frank policy, which permits its director to make those personnel decisions. All of this will be a moot point once the Senate approves a permanent replacement, but for the moment, it certainly kicks up some dust and creates a bit of confusion.
Yeah, it certainly does make things a little confusing. Errol, before you go, I've got to ask you about this one. The president has claimed on Twitter that Time magazine approached him for their Person of the Year issue, but the magazine said, actually, no, it's not true. What more can you tell us about this back and forth?
Oh boy, of all the topics that we cover and we focus on, this one is at least a bit more fun. Yes, the president tweeted on Friday that they had reached out, Time magazine reached out to him and was probably going to name him man, and then he put in parentheses, Person of the Year, but he refused because he didn't want to submit to a lengthy interview and a long photo shoot. Well, Time magazine moments later tweeted a rebuttal to that, saying that's actually not how we make our selections based on who can give us the most amount of time, and they will announce their decision, I believe, on December 6th. And it's just, of course, Twitter gold. So many celebrities are now, like Julie Louis-Dreyfus is saying, I was about to be named Comedian of the Year, but I'm turning it down. Andy Murray said he was going to be named Sportsman of the Year, but he turned it down. It's just one of those things. Okay, well, something a little bit lighter fare to talk about this weekend. Errol Barnett, thank you so much, Errol, for joining us. Sure, you got it.